Today we are going to talk about entrepreneurship. Hello and welcome. My name is Peter B and I welcome you here at My First Million, where we are achieving our financial goals together. So, what career paths are there out there? So usually people consider two buckets, either starting your own business, being an entrepreneur, or being an employee, working for a company. Today, however, I want to open up the discussion for a third possibility, which is called intrapreneurship. For this, let me quickly change my screen. So what's intrapreneurship? So on one side you have the entrepreneur, and on the other side you have employees. Intrapreneurship falls in between the two. They have some areas where you're like an entrepreneur, but in other areas you're similar to an employee. So going to the next slide. So what does really being an entrepreneur means? So if you're an entrepreneur, you're still an employee of a company. So you're working for a company and get a salary usually out of it. Usually monthly salary or weekly salary. However, instead of just working there in order to receive your salary, like exchanging your time for money, you are willing to be a leader of the company. And not only a leader in terms of leading other people, like in the management position, but also in mindset. You are also a driver of the company. Not maybe not for the whole company if you're not the CEO, but at least in the area that you are responsible of, you are the driver to get improvements done and implemented. And this exactly leads me also to a good definition of how are you able to identify the entrepreneurs in a company. So probably you're already working in a company and there are many people potentially working with you. So how are you able to identify whether someone is just an employee or whether someone is an entrepreneur? Usually the entrepreneurs, they are the ones who get things done. You have a problem and they will find a solution for it. Or they will kick off an improvement that is beneficial for the company. And they are driving towards the change there. Or in general, they're often also like the go-to person. Maybe there are several people in marketing. And usually, most people will address just one or two of the people from the marketing department. Because they are usually the ones who are really are drivers and get results and are able to give answers fast. And are not only able, but willing. So either they get things done, or often they're also the go-to persons. Then, what are the benefits of being an entrepreneur? Usually, if you are one of the driver in the company, you will usually get much better career opportunities. Sometimes, of course, it's difficult advancing in a company if there are some people stopping you or see you as a threat. But most of the time, over time, people will realize who they really can count on. And they will like to promote those people. Just like if you're a leader, do you want people who are drivers working in your team? Or do you want to have people who are just doing their job? Of course, potentially you want to have both. But at least you also hope to have some drivers there. So if you're already a manager and get promoted, if you consider your position to be filled internally, you are only willing to give your position to one of the drivers of your team. Also, maybe sometimes if switching departments, if other people in the company realize you're a driver, they also want to maybe work with you in their department. So if there are new opportunities in another department, if you're an entrepreneur, you are one of the people who are considered for this opportunity. So this is within a company, but also outside of a company. There are always people leaving, and entrepreneurs usually are able to building up very good networks across the co-workers. So let's say you're a salesperson, but you're leaving to another company. And in your new company, there's a new open, very interesting marketing position open. Will you be able to recommend some of your ex-employees if you're not 100% convinced that they will be doing a good job? Probably not, even though maybe this one is a friend of yours. But if you know that this person will be doing a great job in this role, then maybe we'll recommend this one. So in general, entrepreneurs also get more opportunities outside of the company because of the network they're building and the reputation they're building within the company. So also, as mentioned before, usually entrepreneurs are advancing the corporate ladder faster. Of course, this doesn't mean that this is always the case, but as a general rule of thumb, usually an entrepreneur will advance in the corporate ladder much faster than non-entrepreneurs, than just employees. Usually this also means, as a result, you usually have better salary. Maybe you get more bonuses because you get things done. Maybe you get achievement bonuses. If you join another company and the other company really wants you because of the recommendation that they were given from your ex co-workers, maybe they even are willing to give you sign-on bonuses. Or if you get promoted, usually you always also have more opportunities to get stock options and get other opportunities of owning the company that you're working for. So an entrepreneur also usually gets more beneficial treatments over time for ownership. Then also one consideration, an entrepreneur usually has an increased job security. So let's say a company is not running very well. And I need to say this is a very common state nowadays. In my career, I already have seen it several times. But let's say a company needs to cut down its cost by 10 or 20%, and therefore is laying off 10 or 20% of the people. Who do you believe usually will get cut out? Usually those that you consider underperformers, or maybe those who are not very visible in the company, but who are the drivers of their area. Usually you want to keep them in the company and let them stay. So being an entrepreneur also leads to higher job security. And lastly, of course, there are also additional intrinsic motivational factors coming along of being an entrepreneur. At least for myself, I don't like repetitive tasks where I do the same thing over and over again. I like to work on new stuff and get new opportunities. So if you're an entrepreneur, you will get assigned to the exciting new tasks, or people want to have you on this additional new project because they know that you will do your part very well. So that's the benefits of an entrepreneur. So I hope that at least if you are on the employee path, I hope at least I could convince you to take intrapreneurship into consideration. If so, then the next question is how to be a great entrepreneur. So how to become an entrepreneur? Firstly, you need to be willing to take on responsibilities. New responsibilities or increased areas of responsibilities. Secondly, you need to make sure that you are getting things done within the timeline and with good satisfying results and outcome. Then next, here's a typo. As mentioned, you also need to be reliable. So do things that what are expected of you in the time that are expected from you. Then think also, try to change your mind. Not like when are your working hours, when are your off hours. Just think what's best for the company in certain situations. Usually in a regular job, you have your regular working hours. But sometimes maybe you need to give in an additional 10 or 20% to overcome some obstacles or difficulties, or get some issues solved for the company. So entrepreneur will also take into consideration what's best for the company. Also, don't just think of from your perspective or your job responsibility. Take into consideration what's best for the company as a whole. Then again, be the driver of your area of responsibility. Be the go-to person. So if you're working in sales and there are any questions on how to get leads, if you're a go-to person, you will have a lot of credits from other people in the company, either from your peers or from other departments, leaders as well. And always be open for improvements and changes, or even be the driver for improvements and changes. If you see something is not running well, or there's some mistakes, or there are some flaws or inefficiencies, proactively address them and maybe even give suggestions or drive changes or improvements. Then another thing that also can help is just being a lifelong learner. Be open to learn new stuff and don't just stay focused on your area. But try to understand also what's the needs for other people within your team or outside of your team in other departments. And lastly, also, the last point is also a mindset recommendation. Accept work as part of your life. Don't see working as a burden, but rather as a pleasure. Or if you cannot see it as a pleasure, at least as a part of my life. This is something I learned from my father. My father used to be a farmer, and every day, a dairy farmer, every day he needed to get up very early to take care of the cows. And he needed to work late every day, again to take care of the cows. Usually as a dairy farmer, you're milking the cows twice per day, once in early morning and once in the evening. So there are very long working hours every day. Also during weekends. So you cannot just take one day off. So for my father, what I learned from him is if you accept work as part of your life, it's much easier to go along with work. And it took me a while for me to get this mindset shift into being an employee. Because as a farmer, of course, you're working for your own farm. You're, so to speak, a business owner, and you work for yourself and for your own success. But also as an employee, if you have this mindset shift, you can become an entrepreneur, and therefore you're also working on your own success, even though maybe you're only partially benefiting on, as you're maybe not the sole business owner of the company. So, coming back to sum this up, is entrepreneurship a valid option for you? Of course, a lot of people wanna try entrepreneurship, being their own business owner, and I really get this point. However, most people still end up in the track of being an employee. So if you're an employee, take into consideration if it's better for you, maybe instead of just being an employee, start being an entrepreneur and doing the best for your company, both for your company's benefits, but also for your own benefits. Are you an entrepreneur? Do you have any experience being an entrepreneur? Share your recommendations and experience in the comments below. Thanks a lot for joining me today. I look forward to see you again in the next video, and especially I look forward to see you winning financially.